Well, greetings. This will be probably a pretty cluttered video. I don't know exactly how this is going to come out, but as you can see, I'm scuzzy for during the week, but y'all can get over it. This is being recorded before the server migration. As you see, I've had the same home lab server now for a little over 4 years. I put it in a little bit about a year after I got married, so it's three and a half years old now. Well, it's time. And I don't mean that the PC is bad or anything. It's doing an excellent job. It's still doing an excellent job. What I mean is it's time in the aspect of I think I can do better, and that PC is still going to serve a purpose in my home. Don't get me wrong. I just am going to have it not be running 24/7 doing server things. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and run through the old home lab while I still have it up and running, and we'll move from there, because this week I'm going to be going through this whole process of migrating servers and getting everything back up and running, and migrating from a raw Debian 12 install to TrueNAS. This is new for me, and it was a rocky road, trust me. So for starters, you can see my home lab. It's a little bit of a mess. Don't worry about it. That cable is the new server, which we will cover here momentarily. But that is an Optiplex Micro 7050 with a TerraMaster USB 3.2 enclosure. It came with a USB-C cable, that's why it's hooked into the front. Otherwise, it'd be hooked into the back. The Home Lab 7050 is an i5 6500T with, I believe, a 15-watt TDP. I will correct that in post if I need to. As well as that TerraMaster enclosure has two Western Digital UltraStar 12 terabyte hard drives to give us a 12 terabyte array, because I like redundancy. Beyond that, it has basically been in this form for quite a while now. Originally, I had a different enclosure hooked up to this thing. I think I also had a toaster at one point, and a WD Passport drive for a while, because, funny enough, this home lab has evolved a little bit over the years. And at this point, while this still works, I think, like I said, I think we can do better. Now, as far as backups go, there's no versioned backups on the server itself. That's something I wanted to do with the new setup. What we have here across the pond to my APC battery backup, which doesn't properly battery backup anything, that's something else we're going to fix because things aren't plugged in correctly, is my old Synology NAS. And we'll talk about that Synology NAS for a moment, but that is a disk station that is an ARM-based disk station. And it's not particularly good, however, it is good at doing backups, which is the important thing. So let's talk about that. So essentially, that disk station, the way it's designed, is a low-powered ARM system. I don't remember exactly how many cores. I'll Google the model and stuff, and maybe I'll put it over here. I don't know. Future editor me, do some cool shit. I swear I pay him a lot, but, you know, he's an ass. So, it is a dual-disk station. I have upgraded the disks once. Originally, I had 2 terabytes. Now, currently, I have 4 terabytes. Its only purpose in life was to back up the home directory for my wife and I's personal files. At this point, it's Nextcloud and certain configuration files that don't take up very much space, but would be something you'd want to back up in the event of a disaster on the main server, right? So you could just sync everything back together, and Bob's your uncle. Well, like I said, I upgraded it to 4 terabytes, and even at that, our home directories are pushing that a little bit. I did clean it up. I think we're about 50-60% full now with just Nextcloud stuff. So we're doing good. And I could cut that down a lot. I currently sync the active projects on my YouTube channel to that stuff. I could just separate that off. In fact, I might use that TerraMaster enclosure for that. But yeah, it's a thing. The eventual idea is that all of this is going to go away other than the Synology, and that's all going to go on that shelf down there with the battery backup. And what will happen eventually is the main server will have version 2 backups, and it will rsync those files over to the Synology, which has ButterFS snapshots set up. So you'll have double data redundancy in this general area, and it'll all be automatic. I will manually come in once a month with an external passport drive, and I usually have a couple of them. One gets locked up. The other one just stays at my desk because it's just a floater. It's if I need something and the power's out, right? Or I need something that's been deleted from the server. It's like the last ditch effort. It's like whenever that last backup was done. Eventually, I'd like to do something off-site. It's just not currently in the cards. I have a couple low-powered Nook machines. I might look into doing a remote TrueNAS. We'll see. It really does depend. I don't like asking other people to do that kind of stuff for me because I'd be burning their electricity. But hey, it's in the cards eventually, and we'll see how it works. Because TrueNAS has a lot of cool features, and we'll get around to covering some of that in the future. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm lazy, as any good American would be. And I did it bare metal before. I did it the hard way. I set up a database. I set up raw bare metal. If you're going to do it that way, Drew from Just a Guy Linux, go watch his channel. He is the king when it comes to Debian. Just straight stop. His guide pretty much told me how to set that up. Other than I had to go look up how the MySQL stuff works. I've never done database stuff. Can say it sucks. And this Docker approach is much easier. So I am excited to move to the new server. I think in a lot of ways it's going to allow me to just not need to do a lot of maintenance. In this particular case, TrueNAS is going to take care of things for me. It's going to do all the downloading of the updates. It's going to stage everything. It'll restart containers. I have a GUI web interface that's very comprehensive. And when I do stuff like when I decommission the old server, it's going to be one fell swoop. There is no going back. I'm going to take it down. I'm going to pull the hard drives out, disconnect them. And after I install my new SATA cables, because half of the cables I used were bad and the other half are sketchy, other than the 2 that are working for the current server. So I bought 12, as you do. And I want to keep that in mind is the purpose of this server was to be as economical as possible while still getting as much value from it as possible. Because let's be real, this server is going to pull more juice than that Optiplex will over 4 years, more than likely. That little chip idles at like 5 watts, if that. Very, very economical chip. And so I'm not going to pretend for a second that a desktop processor is going to keep up with that. So I need to get more value out of the server since it's going to burn more juice. The new server is my old gaming motherboard. It's an Asus ROG Maximus motherboard with an i5-6500, which is not my old gaming CPU. My old gaming CPU is actually still in the living room in that PC, which we'll talk about someday. But it's an i5-6500 that came from an HP Elite desk that I bought in Florida several years ago. I think it was actually when I was still dating my wife. So it's 5 years ago. I trashed the machine in my living room because the SATA cable got stuck in the SATA port and then broke off on the motherboard. So I broke the SATA port off on the motherboard, ruining the motherboard because it only had 2 SATA ports. The GTX 970 is a graphics card that I purchased for what is the Penguin Tower, the current tower that runs my living room gaming setup. Currently referred to as K7, Starbase K7, or Outpost K7. I'm not sure. I'll have to go look up the Star Trek lore on that. It now is in this server for transcoding because a 4 or a 3 3/4 gigabyte graphics card, if you'll humor me for a moment, it's not a full 4 gigs. You can go look that up. NVIDIA's a bunch of shitheads. 4 gigabyte graphics cards are not particularly great at gaming anymore, unless you have very specific needs that fit inside that envelope. I think gaming through about the mid-2010s is probably possible. Beyond that, it's tough. Transcoding all day long, hell, this thing could probably do a dozen transcoding streams and not even care. Editing in Kden Live on that card, even in Davinci Resolve, that card was more than enough to deal with that stuff. I could probably do 2 full tilt encoding streams on this card and never care. It's just me and the wife here. If it's more than that, this card has enough grunt to deal with more than just 2 encoding streams like that. You could probably transcode 4 movies at the same time, and this card would probably still handle it okay. It's not going to happen here, but it's a thing. I also paired it with 16 gigs of RAM that I had on hand. I have a 250 gig solid-state drive. It is some random Kioxia SSD. I don't have any idea what the longevity of that is. It was used. It was in my pile. Take that for what you will. And then a twin pair of hard drives that I bought specifically for this project that match the WD Ultra Stars that I have up there. They're 12 terabyte drives. And I did that so I can pull the 2 old drives in and have a 4 drive array, with the idea of it still being a mirror, but I'll have 16 terabytes to work with instead of just 8 terabytes. Do I need that much more space? We're about halfway through the 8 terabytes at this point, so sure. Jellyfin has expanded, and it's going to continue to expand in storage costs for me as we get on to beyond my DVD collection. I have very few Blu-rays that I have moved to the server, and that's going to take up a lot of space. I already know that. And there's some of those are 4K Blu-rays that are going to be massive files. So I fully expect that to be brutal to my storage capacity. But beyond that, that also gives me extra redundancy. I could lose 2 entire hard drives and still be good to go. One of those has a lot of runtime on, and one only has the runtime that I put on it. So one of those could fail. But these 2 that I have in the system are basically brand new. One of them, they didn't even put a refurbisher sticker on it because it was that new. So I'm excited. Obviously, this is before the migration. I have done some things already, but I've already migrated my data over to the new server. I've done a second sync because I've had these side by side for a while, testing reliability and that and whatnot. Oh, that's right. I did buy an EVGA 500 watt power supply. The idea is eventually to replace that motherboard and CPU with a more modern one, not necessarily more powerful, but if I could get something with a lot of cores, I could see myself maybe hosting virtual machines on the server itself instead of on my own hardware. For now, I'm okay with handling all that locally. I've got the hardware to do it anyway. But someday, I'd like to do that. I haven't found virtualization in Linux to be a very straightforward process. I don't know if that video will be out yet or not, but I'm going to do a video on that because that's been a very frustrating experience. But beyond that, this is the before, and I look forward to sitting here and talking about the after once the migration is complete. So like I said, I got the SATA cables. I'm going to recable this entire case, and then I'm going to migrate those drives down, re-add them to the pool so they'll reformat and be into the pool. And then it's just repointing my systems from the old server to the new server and just making sure that everything's hunky-dory. I've even got my personal VPN set back up, which I only use for myself. I only turn it on when I'm out of the house, and I turn it off when I get home. And the whole purpose of that VPN is purely for my own use. I don't share this library with other people. It's just me and the wife. So if I'm out of state and I want to watch Jellyfin, I can just do that. Which is just freaking awesome that I can do that. It's just amazing. So I don't know if the VPN I have on there, we'll talk about it in the TrueNAS section, will be the be-all end-all. I'll probably go with Tailscale over TwinGate. But for now, that's perfectly fine. how it works now can just work that way, and we'll see how it goes in the future. So with that, hopefully the rest of this migration goes well, because so far it's been pretty good. So I'll catch you on the other side. There we go. All snuggled in there. The light doesn't stay. Got our switch, the Synology, and big boy server, doing big boy server things. Hooked to battery backup. It'll be plugged into that white plug there. The old home lab is no more. Well, it is a sultry 91 degrees here, and that is in freedom units and not in communist units. I kid. I work in both in my job. I fucking did it. Right now, I'm waiting for the array to kind of rebuild itself. So I built the initial array with just 2 of the disks. And so now I've got to allow it to kind of re-expand and redo everything. But damn, it took a lot. But as you'll see in the footage I took, it looks pretty nice. It looks really nice. I look like shit, but I've had a week, and today it is so hot, I do not care. It is somewhat nice in the house. It sucks balls out here. My little thermometer doober here, hold on, should tell you that it is well indeed 90 out here in the garage. And that just sucks shit. So, I'll come back in a few days. We'll wrap this video up and whatnot, but I'm happy. Once the array's done building, so I've got more than enough redundancy. I shouldn't have to touch that server for years at this point. I might tweak a few things. I might replace a motherboard at some point, because it is getting old. But if I can get myself, a year or 2 down the line, I think that'll do real nicely. So I'm thrilled, though. I'm thrilled. I finally managed to get it done. Well, I'm back after a day or so, and so far, everything's been going great. I had to fix some links. I had to fix some other things related to old things, I guess is the best way I can put it. Bookmarks and links and stuff. But I sat last night and watched 4 episodes of Voyager. It was great. It worked fantastically. I've been moving files on and off the server. It is a little iffy in terms of resetting up Nextcloud. I basically have to remove my old account, add the new one, and then once after I authenticate, pause the sync, close the client, go delete, or go into the config and set the folder back to the folder I had before, and then it's fine. Why? I don't know. This is just what it do. I wish Nextcloud could just re-authenticate and be good. Doesn't seem like that's the case because it's a new instance, new account and whatnot. But that's also okay. We'll get by. It is slightly annoying now that I have to authenticate with a password to get onto my NAS, but it's probably a good thing. And, I've already got everything switched over and whatnot. You can take a look. As you can see, I've got the surveillance system, the Synology switch, and the server running pretty happy down here. And, I expect in a few days that I should be able to report back with kind of a finale to this. I'm hoping to catch again by the weekend. Maybe I'll even shave by then. It's been so stinking hot, I just haven't bothered. Today it's finally not 100 degrees outside. I know, it's wild. But the weather's been so hot, even having my laptop on my lap is not a thing. The heat's too much. So, it's better today. I'll get a little bit of work done today, but I have at least gotten my laptop migrated over to the new Nextcloud server. Jellyfin's working. Got my wife set up last night on her phone. I need to do her desktop. And then once her desktop is done, then it's my desktop and then my fleet of devices beyond the editing machine that I've already moved over and one or two other machines that I have moved over. I'll get there slowly. It's a process, but I think it's one that is well worth it. So with that, unless I got something else to add in the end here, I'll see you at the end of the week when I've had a little bit more time with this setup. Well, it's officially been like almost a week now that I've had this thing running, and honestly, pretty darn surprised how good this thing is. I've even got some footage. I'll see if I can play it. I'll have to redact some things, obviously, but I'm impressed. Now, some of this is because I've always done homegrown stuff. I've never done an enterprise offering. Because TrueNAS realistically is just a free version of the commercial offering of TrueNAS, which is a real paid-for product that you can pay money for. And it has features for those things. It's one of those products that just surprises me. So I'll log in here, and we're going to go ahead and go to the... This is what I get to see now. And this is great. This tells me a bunch of information. It tells me my jellyfin's up. I can even go in here into configure and add and go to, I think it's apps, do my Nextcloud and say save, save. And now my Nextcloud's up. I've done a little customizing to the dashboard in that here, and you can see different things that I have deployed. Just at this dashboard, I know I can check for updates. I can see my system performance and temperatures, memory usage, how the pool's doing, and you can see here how I've got my RAID set up. So I don't know if I talked about that as much. I have 4 12 terabyte drives in this system, and I do have them set up as a pretty standard mirror. I want to lose 2 drives and still have all my data, because 2 of my drives are older, and I really just don't want to deal with something super crazy. Now, I could have gone and gotten more space. There's all kinds of different things that TrueNAS let you do. But yeah, at a glance, I have all kinds of good information that I can look at, and being able to start and restart apps, not necessarily from this particular page, but you'll know I can go to the web portal for these 2 apps. I mostly use Jellyfin and Nextcloud, and I find that fantastic. And to update the system, I click update and it updates. For apps, I click apps, and if there's an update, I just update the apps. Really simple stuff, and I love it. So at the end of the day, what are my thoughts on TrueNAS? Don't get me wrong, Debian server is still a solid choice for a server, and I think if you have incredibly basic needs, even as basic as what I have, it's very possible, very doable, and I still think it's a good decision. I migrated for the simple ease of use. I could even hand this username and password to my wife and go, hey, go shut down the server, or hey, go update the server, and even she could do it. And she has no experience with servers, and I think that's a big win here. TrueNAS is still based on Debian. It's still the same good old Debian. It's just more of an appliance than normal Debian. So at the end of the day, I'm glad I did it. I'm be looking forward to checking in at some point throughout the year and actually getting to check in on how things are, how I think about this stuff, because containers have always been a pain in my side. I've never quite liked them. I've never quite been able to deal with them. So I've never really known what it's like. And I think when done right, like TrueNAS, they can be very powerful. Beyond that, trying to do it on my own, raw, with just Debian, oh my gosh. You want to install an app in TrueNAS? You literally just go to apps, go to the catalog, and go, I want Tailscale, or I want Jellyfin. And if they have the app, you just click install. Now, I have it set up to mount in a way that makes sense. Go watch tutorials if you're... Seriously, go watch tutorials if you're going to do anything related to TrueNAS. Because trying to raw dog it, as I'll say, is not a good idea. I was so pissed off the first day I deployed this, I nearly reverted back to the old server, which would have been a lot of work at that time. Once I figured it out, and I got all the drive mirroring set up right, adding drives to the pool was easy, and then you just need to expand the pool to fill the drives. Wasn't inherently something I realized I needed to do, but once I figured it out, again, I come back in 2 years and go, I need to replace a drive. You just mark the drive for replacement. It'll calculate stuff, and then you shut it down, you put the drive in, boot it back up, make sure it's re-added to the pool, and you're done. Crazy shit, I know. Because I built this array with just 2 of the disks, and then added the 2 old disks from the old server over. So, at the end of the day, this, even with a TrueNAS, this is still a valid server option. I could have reloaded this with TrueNAS. I just chose not to. I chose that I wanted a more desktop build for more stuff. I have an SSD cache now. And I think as I go forward, I may do another SSD cache at some point, but I've only got 6 SATAs on that board, and I'm pretty sure I've populated all but 1. And that last one, I might save for an old spinning rust hard drive, because I may be doing some virtual machines on the server, which is kind of the reason why I beefed up the server. I might need a new processor for that, but if I get around to that, you'll see it here on this channel. So if you liked the video, go ahead and like the video. And for now, I'm just going to get out of your hair. And if you got a server, let me know down in the comments how you guys run your server. Do you do bare metal? You do Docker? How do you guys do it? And with that, I'm going to get out of your hair, and y'all take care.